friends, this is Caitlin. Welcome back to my channel, and today we are celebrating a new MerMay release from Sweet November Stamps. So today I'm going to be using these 3 new stamp sets. We have the Deep Ocean Background Builder. This is so pretty. We're going to use one of those like rocky towers up there at the top. I absolutely love this set. We're also using Something Fishy, which has all of these really sweet little aquatic friends, fish, blowfish, the really cute turtle. We're going to be using the crab and then 2 of those fish. And then the star of the show, in my opinion, is the Merwee party. So the Merwees are like my favorite version of mermaids from Sweet November. And I fell in love with these jellyfish like garland. So we're going to be using all of those, and we're actually going to be making a box card today using the outside the box dynamics from My Favorite Things. So all of my products will be listed in the description below for you guys as usual. And I also want to let you know, I'm sure you already know, but in case you didn't see it from the thumbnail, this is part of a YouTube hop for Sweet November. And by participating in the hop, you have a chance to win all 12 of the stamp sets that are part of this new release. So make sure you check down in the description for the full list of like all the instructions and dates and all of that stuff. And if you're watching this later after May, I hope that you still love mermaids, and I hope that you enjoy this box card. Everything that I'm doing could also just be done onto a regular A2 standard card, and I would just pop up some of the elements with foam, and that way you'd still get that layered dimension. But I personally love a box card, and I love making it look like my mermaids are swimming and like floating in the water. So I'm going to start by stamping out a couple of my Merwees and then my jellyfish garland. And then I'm pulling out that little present because it looks like a party with the garland, but I really wanted to make sure that it read birthday party specifically. So I really wanted to have that extra little seaweed wrapped birthday present there. And then I'm stamping those 2 extra fish and that little crab. I am also going to end up stamping a little clamshell that's wrapped in a bow later on to kind of fill space. So just throwing that out there now for when we see it later. It was because I didn't think I was going to need it. So I stamped all of my images with my Honeybee Stamps Intense Black ink, my favorite go-to. And then for the sentiment, I'm using this Uptown Teal ink from Catherine Pooler. It's just so pretty. And I ended up stamping it twice because the mermaid part of my sentiment came out weird. And it made it a little darker than I wanted, but I still like having that kind of pop of teal on the front of the card. And I like having the white because when I fussy cut everything, I'm going to leave a little bit of a white border this time, which I don't always do, especially if I'm fussy cutting images. It's like, why leave the white? But there were so many little fiddly bits around those jellyfish that there was just no way I was going to get a clean like fussy cut. So I liked having the white on the front of the box card to balance that out. So you can see I started coloring in my little kind of rocky sand tower, and I'm going in with that E39 first, working on all of the edges, just kind of adding some shading. You can see I kind of switched which side I added my shading to, especially because this is a box card, light's kind of coming from all around. So in hindsight, it's probably better to pick a light source general side, but I still absolutely love how this turned out, and I really wouldn't change it. So I blended that out, my E39 with my YR27, just pulling those colors out towards the all of the lighter areas, and then blended that out again with YR24. And I'm leaving just little slivers of white that we're going to fill in with our highlight shade. 3 shades was probably enough, but this is a pretty significant image. It's pretty big. So I just felt like there would be room for that 4th shade. So that's going to be the YR21. If you're using the YR like 20 Copics to blend, I do think if you need a shade darker, that E39 was a perfect match into this combination. So I filled in all of the little kind of rocky speckles with that E39 again. And then for the little rocks, kind of bunched up at the bottom of this formation, I decided to change it up completely and I went for some warm grays. So we have W9, W5, and W7 was our middle shade. I guess a little hint of W4 for a highlight. And my favorite thing about coloring mermaids is there are no rules. So skin tones, all different hair tones, pretty much anything is fair game. And I really love adding some color to the skin tones of my mermaids. So we're going to switch it up. We're going to have a darker skin tone here going in with my E29 and then 27, 25. The Merwees are drawn in a pretty simple style. So you don't, and they're pretty small. So you don't have to do like the 4 colors or make it crazy. I just really wanted to keep like a nice warmth to her skin. And then on deeper skin tones, I always swap out my R20 for my R22 because it just pops a lot better on those brown tones. For the little mermaid that's sitting, she's going to get my kind of go-to Caucasian skin tone. So she's got E04, E13, E11, and maybe a little hint of E00 right through the center of her face. And then she'll get the R20 normal blush color. So... but I definitely wanted to change things up with the hair and their tails and really bring in a ton of color without making it necessarily feel rainbow. So the first tail we're going with is like this really bright, poppy, orange, like tangerine kind of color. And for her hair, we're going to go with some RV markers. I'm going pretty dark to start. We're going RV 69. And I'm just kind of following the artist drawn lines, kind of creating and enhancing the curls that are already kind of drawn in. And following and just adding more of those little soft kind of C shapes or like little threes here and there, just to give that extra curly texture. I blended that with my RV 29. And then we'll jump up to RV25. And the little tiny highlights I'm leaving, we're going to fill in with the RV23, which I just love the amount of contrast that you get by using that extra RV69. It really pulls in those shadows and balances out that really light highlight. So I pulled out some blues that I feel like I never used, but we went with B20s for this other tail. So B29, 26, and 24. And then I'm going to go back in afterwards and add little dot texture with the darkest combo, the darkest of each combination for those tails, but we'll see that in a second. So for this mermaid's hair, again, I wanted to just switch it up and use some crazy bright colors. So we went with a V's. So V09 was my deepest shade. Again, following those artist drawn lines and then kind of creating little flicks up from the root and down from the ends of her hair, since her hair is kind of technically like upside down because it's supposed to be floating. So then we went V17, and then my highlight was that V04. And I just love all of these fun colors all together. I had to bring in some yellow, so we added that to her little bikini top. And the jellyfish were by far my favorite part of this whole scene and my favorite thing to color. So I decided to have them alternating this pink and like BV kind of indigo-y color. And I really enjoyed coloring them this way, kind of creating that circular shape and leaving that like true highlight all around the edge, but especially to the side, just going in with that lightest BV quadruple zero. To me, it gives them that really like see-through look, like they're actually transparent and you're only seeing the center because there's just more there. Those outer edges are clear and so light, and I love how that turned out. So I also brought in some of those lighter RV markers for the other two little jellyfish, so it kind of ties in close to our first mermaid's hair, but not exact. And then a little more of those yellows on the little like beads or bubbles that are going across. And to really help push that these are like round, shiny jellyfish, I had to go in with some white highlight and kind of color in their freckles and add some shine marks. This is where I'm going in with my darkest orange and then my darkest blue, as well as going in with some white gel pen. And the combination of those two together is going to give that kind of scaled look to these tails that I'm looking for. For my two little fish, we're going to go yellow and green because I realized that the yellow on that little bra was not going to be enough, and I was not sure exactly where else we were going to bring in green besides the present. So I pretty much skipped red. Oh no, that's not true. We have the crab. We'll get to red. So yeah, pretty much every color is represented in our scene, but it just looks bright and colorful. It really still doesn't read as a rainbow because I know some people love a rainbow and some people are kind of over it. I personally love a rainbow for whatever that's worth. So we went super bright limey green with those YG markers. And then for the crab, I'm going to go true red. So we're going R29. I ended up doing like an extra color more than I would normally for this crab, but it was because I really still wanted to pull him like an orangier red versus like a blue toned red. So we went R29, 27, and 24. And that little tiny extra highlight that I'm leaving there, we're going to do with an R05, and that's going to pull this more in that orange realm. That R05 is so orange. I grabbed a darker green for my little seaweed gift wrap, but you can see like how small that is compared to everything else. So that's why I'm glad I pulled in that green on the fish as well. It needed a little pink bow, obviously. And then I fussy cut everything out. I promise, guys, I try so hard to film my fussy cutting and hold my hands out where you can actually see them. But it's brutal out there, and I'm not a good fussy cutter, and it feels like forever. So I'm sorry, but I fussy cut them all out. Now we're going to assemble our box card. So with these, I cut two of the long and they're like short height wise. The parts that are going to be the box are those long L's. Then we had three of those. There's technically snowdrift inserts, like the little shelves that you add in, but we use them as sand. And I die cut all of these from the My Favorite Things craft cardstock. And you can see that one is actually a scrap. It has old coffee beans stamped on the backside of it, but that's fine. I didn't even realize when I did it that there was ink on the back. So I just used up a great scrap. So you assemble the tabs of those two L-shaped pieces together, and those become the actual frame of your box. Then I die cut the back panel from a piece of watercolor like pattern paper and added that to that back lower section. Added a little bit of liquid glue as well as my Tombow adhesive runner to the little tabs on these inserts because I wanted to be able to wiggle them around for like a second while I got everything lined up, but I also didn't want them to take forever to dry. So the adhesive tape kind of acts as like backup. So I left my little garland here at kind of an angle. I wanted it to look like a little party streamer, and I knew I wouldn't have room to fit all 5 jellyfish across. So that's why I only did those 4. I checked it out ahead of time and saw there was no way it was going to fit. But I kind of like this asymmetrical feel that it gives to the rest of the card. I popped up my little kind of rocky formation and I added on my sentiment to the front, which is in that little white stitched panel I love. And you'll see between every single step, I fold my box card back and forth to the left and the right, just to make sure that everything is moving the way it should be. Everything is sitting in a place that it's okay. It's still going to close right. And it kind of just helps teach your paper what to do so that when you put it flat in your envelope, things kind of come back to life easier. So I'm just using liquid glue to glue down all of my elements. So we have that cute little mermaid with her present and then the crab on her opposite side of that front section. And then for my fish and my floating mermaid, I have this thicker, heavy acetate just from Michaels. It's their like Recollections line. I used to use the Studio Kati one, but I'm pretty sure like something's up with them. I heard someone say that they like couldn't buy from them or something was wrong with their site. So if you have a favorite heavy duty acetate that you think I should check out, I am in the market, because there's nothing wrong with the Michaels one, but I try to support like true stamp companies whenever I can. So I just cut little 1/4-inch slivers of that acetate in my my paper trimmer, and I'm adding these with the tape runner instead of liquid glue so that they hold in place a lot easier, a lot faster. And I kind of just measure to see how high I want whatever that character is, and then you just glue them to the back of that shelf. So I really wanted this smaller fish to kind of be tucked right in the middle. And then this was when I realized I still had a gap. And I love this card, but to me, when I look at it, it still feels like something is missing. So if you think of what you think should have been added or what I could do, I don't know if it's that something needed to be shifted. I don't know. I do love it, but when I look at it, it gives me like a little half of a second of a pause. Or if you feel like that, where everyone else says your card is fine and you're like, I don't know, let me know in the comments so at least I know I'm not alone. That can be your comment that you leave to enter the hop when you're here. But yeah, so I added in that little clam, and I am just so excited. I love this whole card. I hope that you will hop along for your chance to win and also to support Sweet November, because Amy is just the sweetest. So I hope you have an absolutely amazing week. I will talk to you guys soon, and until next time, happy crafting.